Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here from Options and Play. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a very important concept for options trading, right? Implied volatility. Now, this is a very in-depth, broad topic, and there's a lot of things we can discuss. We can really spend days going over basically all things implied volatility related. But specifically, what I want to talk about today is something that we've seen develop in a higher volatility environment, so in higher overall volatility environment, and um, basically, what we have seen is a surge in implied volatility on a lot of different contracts. So, a lot. I don't want to say all options have seen a huge implied volatility surge, but a lot have, right? And it's because the overall level of volatility across the market has really increased, right? And this is a dynamic that's really important to understand. It's because when the volatility picks up and stocks really get hit, right? Everybody probably realizes that the cost of puts are going to go up, right? People realize that when volatility ticks up, the cost to finance hedges or people rush in and try to get that put protection right, and it really drives up the prices. So they realize that the cost of puts probably get more expensive, but what they don't realize most of the time is that the cost of calls actually gets more expensive too in periods of implied volatility or in periods of overall market volatility. Okay, so implied volatility works both ways. So it drives up the prices of puts, but it also drives up the prices of calls. So when the Qs roll over and get hit, right? Not only are the puts getting more expensive, but the calls are also getting more expensive. Okay, and it creates a weird dynamic of when you are looking to trade options either to the downside or the upside, you really have to figure out you have to pick your points and really figure out, is the risk to reward worth it, right? Because like the cost of options has gotten so high because of that implied volatility uptick that a normal bounce, right, might not even be enough to cover like the cost of the premiums, right? Because you have to lay out so much money, right? So let me go over a quick example to kind of illustrate what I mean, and basically talk about what type of strategy might work in this environment. All right. So Qs. All right. We have the Q option chain like in front of me. Right. So this goes out through 1 week past where we're at. So this is the equivalent of 8 trading sessions. So the remainder of today, 2 more days this week, and then all day, so 5 days next week. So basically 8 trading sessions. All right. So you can see that right now the at the money straddle is trading for about 9.5 points. Right. So that's 8 trading sessions, 9.5 points. You can see the implied volatility mid 30s versus a normal mid teens. Right. 35 versus 15. Now, if I go out to May, options still very expensive, right? So that same 215 straddle is trading for about 21 ish points. Okay, so give or take 21 points. Implied volatility still very elevated, right? This is like a higher 20s, but still overall very elevated. Now, May, right? So May expiration, that's all of April, right? So essentially 4 weeks. All of May, again, which is about 4 weeks. So 8 weeks, then March, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks. So basically you have 12 and a half weeks for these contracts, right? And they're priced in 21 on May versus next week's the March 13th. So only 8 sessions are priced in 9.5. So give or take about 45% of the cost of the May contracts is essentially 8 trading sessions. That's the way to look at it, right? So if the May, which is 12 and a half weeks, is about 21 points, then the near term options that are only 8 trading sessions at 9.5 are about 45% of the overall cost of it. So you can see that when the overall volatility gets high, the cost of near term options just absolutely skyrockets relative to longer term, right? And especially relative to the historical. So that's why for periods of overall volatility, I'm typically talking. I say like the 2 and 2. So I say very very short term time frames, like even almost like day tradings or even like 2 days, or long term. And the reason why I say long term strategy is because the overall volatility, while it's still certainly elevated relative to near term, it's much more reasonable, right? Because those near term contracts are so expensive versus what you see with like the longer term May contracts, right? And while you still have to pay for all that extra time, I mean, basically, what you're looking at with like those short-term contracts is nearly 45% of the cost of if you go out like an extra 10 or 11 weeks on top of it. All right. So again, like long-term strategies. So spreads, like standard call spreads, put spreads, even calendar spreads. These are really like the type of strategies I'm looking at in periods of overall volatility. Basically, some sort of strategy to get that near-term overall risk down and basically or try to take advantage of like that higher near-term implied volatility. That's what a calendar spread is. All right. So a very important concept, and I really wanted to just highlight this one kind of specific area of implied volatility, especially in periods of like overall market volatility, because it creates like this really interesting, more unusual dynamic that people don't really recognize right away. So just wanted to spend some time highlighting it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you like these videos and you're looking for more information on options trading or more information on options education, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options in play. All right. Have a fantastic night, and I will talk to you all soon.